cloud. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Broadview Public Library District's November book banter. This month we are going to be bantering about the acclaimed novel, The Vanishing by Brit, Bennett. My name's Tisha. We have Miss Yvonne here, another librarian at the Broadview Public Library District. And we have a special guest for our book banter this month. We have Miss Lynetta Smith, my mother. Hi, Mom.
Hello, everyone.
Book. All right, so The Vanishing. Yvonne, do you want to tell a brief summary of what the book is about?
Well, it seemed to be about two girls who grew up in this very odd town, which was where Black people kind of live. Somebody made up a town that was, so Black people, I guess, feel comfortable where they lived at. But the only thing about this particular town, they only had people that lived there that were light-skinned. No dark people at all who were Black people. I mean, they almost looked like they were white. So the two girls, I guess, kind of thought it was strange where they lived at. It was something like they was too comfortable in the situation where they were at. And it seems like the story kind of revolves around them trying to escape this town, especially after what they witnessed as small children, what happened to their dad.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, so one of the things we were discussing when you came in, we were talking about how Desiree and Stella grew up as twins. They were inseparable as children, but later they separated and they completely lost touch with each other, out of contact. And we were talking about what series of events and experiences led to this division and why. And do you think it was inevitable after they're growing up so distinct from each other? So we talked about how they had their different reasons for wanting to leave the town they were in, which was called Mallard, and the completely different paths that they took, and why, they were twins, but they were separated because one twin wanted to pass and the other, had no desire to pass. She just wanted to get away, and their lives diverged into two completely different directions. So that's what we were talking about.
Okay.
A bit earlier.
Well, I think they really didn't say whether Desiree would want it to pass. It kind of like her sister just found that was her way out, really, that she could do it. So that's what she did. And it seemed like Desiree, on the other hand, was trying to spite her mother and everything that they stood for by marrying this man that she married. Because the man she married was a dark-skinned man, which her mother always told her, they was no good. She shouldn't even be bothered with that. It doesn't seem, you see what I'm saying? It seemed like that was her way to escape, was just defying everything that town stood for and what her parents had raised them to be. Although the other girl, Stella, decided, well, after, the violence for her father getting killed and all that, her way to get out was, hey, if I can pass, I will, and I'm not going back there. So she escaped the whole life totally and became somebody else.
Yeah.
But she didn't have to even, live that life anymore.
Yeah, when we were talking about too, like in her becoming someone else, like she was constantly like I thought she was kind of afraid. Like she was so adamant about those Black people not moving in when they moved to California, because I felt that she was afraid that she would be like discovered right away. Like,
but that's what I felt. I think she felt that they could either see something in her or something she said, and she didn't want to be around them at all. So that could never happen. It wouldn't destroy the life she had built, being this white woman.
Right.
So she felt as long as they were nowhere around her, so she had to act like, actually worse than the rest of the people were acting, because nobody was even going that far. She was like going to the extremes to make sure they didn't get there.
So what did you both make of the fact that initially she was so adamant, but then she felt guilty about her behavior, and then she became almost best friends with I forgot her name. I forgot the Black lady's name, but she became almost best friends.
Loretta. That was her name.
Loretta, okay. She was going over her house, the kids was playing, and she was deflecting rumors from the other white people about their relationship, about them being in public. But like you said, at first she was so against it. She was so adamant, but then she felt so guilty about how she acted. She went over there, brought the lady a cake, and then they was fast friends. So what do you make of that? What do you both make of that?
Well, I think she felt guilty because she was Black. I think that's where the guilt came in. But I think she became friends with Loretta because she related to her more than she did to the white lady she hung around all the time. She never opened herself up to, that life. Even though she lived it every day, she was never close to any of those people. And she really couldn't even be that close to her husband. She couldn't even tell him the truth. So she kind of like lived the life, but she was still distant.
Yeah. And I think also that she can identify. And the other lady accepted her for who she was. And whether she knew she was, maybe she knew she was mixed or, light skinned or whatever. She
I always wondered that.
Yeah, she always, but
they never
they
say it, but I
never
always
said it out. But I
knew.
think because her friends and stuff, when she came over, they were comfortable with, she thought that, I think in a way, to me, I believe they kind of knew. Maybe they thought she might have been mixed light skinned, but they never judged her, never said she couldn't join when they had their little women's group. And Stella, she to me, I think she kind of missed her sister in that sense that, she doesn't really have any best friends like Loretta did. Her little group, they come over, they drink, had a little women, group get together, and they kind of invited her, if you want to come, come over. It was okay. But she never really grew up, having that closeness with anybody but her sister. And now she was distant from her sister.
So do you understand why Stella made that choice? Like, she gave up her sister in order to live a different life. Do you think that she could have done that with Desiree?
I don't think so.
If she would have told her husband the truth before they got married and say, oh, by the way, if she would have found that out in the beginning, she might have.
I don't think that's an oh, by the way, though. You'd be like, huh?
Well, I wouldn't say, oh, by the way, like come out and tell him, but I think she could have, if she was smart enough, she could have got around it. If she was smart enough, she could have got around the way telling her husband that to see how he felt about either mixed marriages or, certain things. Just like when, I'm jumping the gun, but when Jude saw her at that party and she dropped all that stuff on the rug, because she saw her mom, even though that was Stella, but she never really got to confront her. But, that kind of shocked her that she walked through the door. So even though the book skipped over, what happened about that, but I think because of that kind of instance, she could have, in the same way with her daughter. Jude was trying to talk to Stella's daughter to try to feel her out and stuff. And here it is, they're cousins. And this kind of was her daughter's best kind of close friend, because her daughter really didn't have any close friends until Jude came into the picture.
That's true.
She could have been friends with the little black girl across the street if she hadn't called her the N-word. They was
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Where did she get it from? Yeah,
well, she got it from her mama, remember?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Kids don't pick up stuff like that. They learn it.
She didn't have a problem with playing with the little girl. Is that her mother? Remember that first date? She snatched her back and told her why she couldn't play with her. And she said, "Because we don't play with those people." And that's when she picked it up. So when she got angry, she used the same word her mama did. Yeah, well, probably not even knowing what it meant, but she said it. Right, because it happened to her when she was younger. Right. So yeah, that she's passing on. So yeah, you got to break the cycle. And she, I guess, after she realized
that what was happening, she doing the same thing that somebody did to her. She didn't like it, so and then she slapped her daughter when she found
Same,
out what
right,
she said.
which was weird. I don't know. I thought toward the end of the book, when I mean like the middle of the book, when they divulged Stella's life, how she was passing, how she was living in the suburb, I started not to really care about her character. Like, I didn't really care about Stella. Like, I found Desiree much more interesting and much more down to earth. Like, I found her life um, more humbling than Stella's. Like, Desiree didn't want to go back to Mallard. Like, she was the one that really wanted to get away, maybe because of boredom, but Stella didn't even tell Desiree the real reason she agreed to go away was the guy was harassing her, but she didn't even tell her sister that. And that was why Stella wanted to leave and never come back, because she didn't want to go back to that house.
Working.
But right, she didn't want to go back to the guy harassing her. So that was her real reason for wanting to get away. And she never told her sister. So I always, and they talked about a theme in the book too, was secrets, and more on Stella's part. She talked about all the secrets she was holding from her sister. And I don't really feel like her sister was holding that many secrets. Like, she was afraid to tell her sister that she passed as white at the museum or whatever, or that she tried it again. And she said she never told her sister these things. And I wonder why. Like, did she feel her sister would understand? If they're identical twins, her sister looks just like she does. She understands that we're light enough to pass as white. We live in this town where they said the priest came in and was like, oh, I thought this was a colored town, but everybody walking around with blonde hair and blue, whatever, looking like he looked. So, I mean, I don't understand why Stella felt that she had to hide, or she felt like it was a big secret that she could pass. Everybody in the town could pass. So I didn't care about
Maybe
Stella.
she didn't think she would want to, or understood why she wanted to.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can hold secrets for so long, just like Jude said. They're gonna come out sooner or later. And because her mom chose to marry a darker skinned person, uh, you know, and when she was at the theater and Jude confronted Stella, asked her about Mallard and some stuff, she knew who she was, but she didn't want to tell her daughter because they had enough secrets. She had secrets from her husband, now from her daughter, and now her daughter's bringing up all this stuff about this girl, talking about this. And Mama, you remember when I was taking a bath when I was little? You told me something, and she was like, nonsense. You don't that. She was telling her. So yeah, you like they say, you make up one lie to cover another lie. Keep going.
Right.
So you
Well,
don't know how
it's a
many lies.
mountain of them. And I guess
Right.
that's what she felt. She had did it for so long. To
Right.
her, I guess it was too hard. If you had to go all the way back and unravel every lie she ever told, she said it was easier just to keep this lie going.
But sooner or later,
But I think if she had told her husband, I think he seemed to not be that type of person that he would
right.
understand.
Mm-hmm.
Because even when you listen to him talk and how he talked about people, he wasn't really like the other people used to talk.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really mind the colored people moving into him. It just didn't matter one way or the other. All the other people claiming their property values and all this other stuff, but he wasn't saying all that.
But
So I think if she had
about,
said, baby, I'm sorry, but I am black. I think he would have understood and still loved her.
right. Mm-hmm. That's what I said. I think you're forgetting the fact that he loved his wife. He loved Stella.
He did. Now that's one thing you can tell from the story, that he truly, truly loved her.
Right.
So I think he would have understood. Right. He might have moved out their neighborhood or something, and moved someplace where they can feel more comfortable and living or whatever, but he would have did whatever it took so they could be together, I think.
And if that's the case, if he loved her, he would have done the same way. He'd be like, okay, I know, but no one else knows, and we don't have to tell anybody else. But at least I know, at least your husband know. And he could have said, okay, I love you, but no one else would have known because they wouldn't have told anyone else.
Yeah, but she didn't give him that option.
She didn't give him that chance.
Exactly. That's why I say she didn't even do that. She didn't even believe in the love that he had for her, just to trust him. Or so that second half of her whole life, it was like, does she really have an identity? Yes, she's passing as a white woman, but what's her true identity? Because she she's hiding who she is from people when she's like I said, oh, all my family is dead, and she lying and telling them they family dead, and
Yeah,
she
and
ain't got
she,
anybody, and
I think that's
like,
why her daughter, I think that's why her daughter is so, like her daughter said, she can be anybody she wants to when she's on stage. That's like her mom is. She's got this other identity because her mom lied so much and told her all this stuff about her family. And now she's saying the same thing. When she's on stage, she can be whoever she wants to be, and nobody knows the real her. So she can pretend she's anybody. And
but
that's why Jude said she's a good actress when it comes to that, because she does. She gets into those characters who she wants to be. She can but her mother, I think she do know her mom was lying about a lot of stuff.
so do you think that affected Kennedy's identity as well? Like you said, she didn't have any close friends, and
Yeah, I think it
because she
did.
didn't
You
I
can
think it
really
tell.
know who
did.
she was,
Because
like
Yeah.
she kept trying to, I mean, all the
she
things
felt
she
something
did
was off.
throughout her life, she kept trying to find herself.
Yeah.
She was,
And
remember, she was bad at school. She was hanging around with all these boys. She was getting high. She was doing all the other stuff. She didn't know who she was because her mother never told her who she was. So every
So
mhm,
time she
have
asked her these questions, she didn't know where she came from, really.
so
right.
that's why you think acting, like they were talking about her character, the soap opera character she played, and that was like her claim to fame, that everybody recognized her as this character, and they would call her the name of this character instead of calling her her real name.
Because that's her. That was kind of like her identity. She played that role so good because it really was her role, but nobody knew it. They thought that was she was acting, but she probably was. That's how she probably felt. It's probably why she had that role down pat, because that's really probably who she really her identity was. Because you remember when she was little, her mom said how good she did when she played whatever little character she did in some little play at school or whatever it was. That's when
Mhm.
she started liking acting, because she got to,
Be
I don't want to
somebody.
say, you're right, hide, be somebody else. You know, she can hide or do whatever she wanted, but on stage. So it was kind of like her little escape
So do you
to me.
feel like I never felt that when Jude, I wonder why Jude just didn't tell Kennedy that they were cousins, that their mom, like, why didn't she tell her sooner? Because when she finally did send the picture all those years later, Kennedy didn't seem upset about it. She didn't deny, she didn't go hysterical. I'm wondering why
I
Jude
think
just
she
didn't.
suspected
Oh,
it because of the first encounter when she
so
was
what's
telling
that?
her
Why
all
didn't
this.
she just ask? Why did she spend all those years beating around the bush instead of just asking Kennedy, like, hey, my mom grew up in blah blah blah. I got this picture. Can you? Why didn't she just ask? Why did she beat around the bush for all those years about it? And then she said it tormented her. She saw Stella everywhere. Stella was here. She couldn't focus because of Stella. And I'm like, really? Like
Well,
that was
maybe she didn't want to be the one to,
I
tell
mean,
it.
she's
Maybe she thought
right.
maybe her mother would finally come, around and say who she was and come back and see her mother. And I guess she
I
just
don't.
didn't be the one to want to bust the bubble, I guess.
Right. I don't think it was her place to tell her
And maybe
cousin
that's what she
we
felt. It
are.
wasn't her place.
It
I didn't
wasn't.
say
She was
tell, I said
given the
ask.
information,
Why
and it's up
didn't
to you
she
to
ask?
follow it through.
That's my point. Is why didn't she ask? Because it wasn't her place to ask. If she wanted to, she wanted to make sure it was Stella for one thing, and then listen to what her mother said, how she felt about Stella leaving when she was growing up, when she had to go to Mallard and go to school, and all the kids tormented her because she was dark skinned and stuff, and the things she went to. And now here it is, Stella. She probably kind of understood. Stella was what her aunt was doing. So it's not her place to, and she knew what kind of person Kennedy was. She already kind of understood what kind of lifestyle Kennedy was and what she was doing. So yeah, why would she ask? I wouldn't.
Because she wanted to know, hey
She
Kennedy, what's
wanted
your
to know
mom's
about Stella. She wanted to
right?
know
But
about.
she wanted to hey Kennedy, what's your mom's name? Is your, oh, she could have just casually asked questions about Kennedy's family. and found out more information than getting a job at the
Well,
theater,
then
sweeping up
I think
popcorn.
she wanted to do it like that. She just was trying to
It
see
was
if
just
the
unnecessary.
girl knew
right. I
anything
think
or
she would.
if she would confide in her or tell her something. She didn't want to go in there like
Right.
she was,
Right,
who's your
because her
mama
mom
name and all
already
that. She didn't
said.
want to do it like that.
Because her mom already put her in the ear. Why is she asking you all these questions? What is she
Right.
trying to get from you? You
No,
know.
she did it in the right
her
way.
mama- but Kennedy knew her mama was lying. She was suspecting that her mother wasn't
She
being honest.
suspected it, but she just had
Right.
like bits and pieces.
She was
And
like, why
then
does it
she
matter to
probably
you?
herself was like, the reality of that probably was too much for her to even handle. Like I've been growing up in this household with you and my dad thinking I'm just totally just like lily white. And now you tell me no.
But Kennedy, when she
Part
found
black.
out, she didn't take it. Kennedy found out, and it didn't seem like she had any reaction whatsoever.
No, but it's
Like,
the point that your mom lied to you all these years, like your whole life. It's
but
like your
she knew
whole
her mother was lying.
life
She
was a
knew it.
lie.
But not everything. She didn't know everything. Like you said, she knew she was lying about a lot of things, but she didn't know everything. She didn't
She knew
suspect.
enough not to confront her mother outright. She knew enough to drag it out at times. Like, oh, I found this picture,
Well,
and
I think she
she would
wanted to
ask
see what
questions.
her mother literally
Right.
confide in her. So she
Right.
would say things and see what her mother just open up and just tell her. But she can
Exactly.
see her mother was still having this difficulty of trying to, or struggle trying to tell her the truth. She would just keep denying whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
I think she
knew her
just
mother.
wanted her mother just to come down to tell the truth. She didn't want
Right.
to confront her about it. She didn't want
Right.
to do any of that. She just wanted her just to talk to her.
Right. They
Just
was already estranged. They was all, you see,
Right.
she
And she
always.
seemed like she just wanted her mother's love and approval. And it seemed like when she was little, she never got that. Her mother
Right.
didn't spend a lot of time with her. Her mother didn't, like she said, teach her how to cook or spend, any close time with her, even getting personal with her, or getting to know her daughter. And that's
one
probably
thing-
why she had all these problems in her life.
That's one thing I liked about the relationship between Desiree. Desiree wasn't caught up on, like you said, color. Like she brought her daughter and she was proud of her daughter. Like her color didn't even matter to her. It's like, yeah, everybody else in this town is light, but you're my daughter and you're beautiful regardless. And they had a better relationship than Kennedy and Stella because Desiree wasn't hiding who she was. Like,
And that's why I think that Stella probably felt with her sister. That her sister didn't mind, not really.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Stella herself was not going back to that life. She did mind. She didn't want to be known as being black. She wanted to live the life of a white woman. That's what she did. And you see with Desiree, like you said, she went out, married a man that was what they call blue black or whatever he was, and brought her daughter back. And it didn't seem to bother her at all when they came back.
right.
She just kept telling her daughter, it's okay, you're beautiful, you're
Mhm.
smart, and whatever. She never gave in to these bad kids and all that. She never did that. She always tried to
Yeah.
encourage her daughter no matter
Right.
what.
Yeah, but
And
she
look-
did
look
tell
what
her
her-
daughter. She did lie and tell her daughter they were leaving. She wasn't. She
Right.
wasn't because she said,
Well-
kept saying, we gonna be gone. We gonna." And
She
Jude
just
said,
kept trying, I guess,
we-
buy
I
time,
don't
like
think-
just make
I
her
don't
feel as
think she
comfortable as
was
she
lying.
could.
Yeah, I don't
without-
think she was lying. She was just trying to reassure because Jude was having such a
Right.
hard time and she was just trying to be a mom, like you said, we're gonna leave, baby, but stick it out a little bit longer.
Right.
Look, you were saying how Stella wanted to live the life of a white woman, but was
She
it really
did.
better?
It didn't seem.
But I think the story is, okay, you want to live the life of a white woman, but is that really so much better? Look at the life.
Well,
look
I
at the-
think
look
because
what Jude
I seriously
did.
think that what happened to her dad really affected her. I mean, witnessing white
yeah.
people dragging her dad out and killing him like that, I think that might have been a lot of motivation. She was like, that's not going to happen to me. Because look how she lived her life. She was afraid all the time. She slept with a bat behind her bed. She kept having nightmares because in her mind, she thought this might still happen to her. So I think that's why she fought so hard.
right.
for it
If they
not to
found
happen.
out she was black, yeah, she probably did. Thought that, yeah, they one day
Yeah.
found out
So
she
I
was black.
think that's why that was the sheer motivation. Like, this is not going to happen to me. I'm
And
not going
plus
to be
when the
strung
black-
up. Nothing's going to happen to my family. I'm going to keep doing what I have to do.
And when
make sure.
they ran her neighbors out, that just reaffirmed what had happened, because she felt like the guy, when he helped her with the groceries, she realized that what she said, like the girl had told her, who they gonna believe, you or me? They gonna believe you white. That's what they gonna believe. So even though she didn't mean any harm, she saw what, just by her saying that she kind of felt uneasy. with him coming helping her with the groceries, and he was just being nice because she had been over to the house, because when he came home, she was there with his wife talking, and he didn't think nothing of it.
Mm-hmm. But I mean,
But
it goes
yeah,
to show you, like, is it really better to be white? Because look how Kennedy ended up, and look how Jew is in medical school. Jew went to college. She didn't have a privileged license. She worked hard to become accomplished. Yeah, Kennedy started on the soap opera, but she was lost. Like, she was just drifting through lifetime. I'm gonna take a year, I'm gonna go around wherever she went to another country, wherever she was, backpacking or doing something. But I mean, is it really better, like, to be white versus just to be who you are and live a happy life? Like,
well,
was it
that's
really worth
anybody.
It's
That
better to
happens
be
in
who
any
you are,
race. I
but
don't care.
Kennedy's
Yeah, I don't
life
care.
wound up like that because, like I said, because her mother. I think the relationship
Right.
of her and her
right?
That
mother.
That's my point.
If it
Because
had been a better relationship, I think she would have been that girl who went to college and got married and had
yeah,
kids
right,
it's a
later.
lot of
But
people. It
because she
don't
didn't
make no
have that
difference what
connection with her
color you are.
mom, she always felt, I guess she was searching for who she really was. And she kept
right,
doing all these
Mhm.
things trying to find out who that was.
I don't think
right.
they
That's
had to
what
do
I'm
with
saying.
what color you are, because that can happen in
Yeah,
any race.
that is
But
true.
yeah, but I mean, as a result of her mother trying so hard to conceal who she was, it affected her relationship with her daughter because
It really wasn't better. In
off.
Stella's
She was
point, 'cause like I
so
said, she lived her whole life afraid all the time.
right. That's what I'm
That's
She
saying.
Stella.
never
It
was
affected her
relaxed or
relationship.
comfortable in her life.
But
She only
Desiree
had material things,
Desiree
basically.
lived her life open. Desiree was home. Yeah, she had to humble herself and come back to Mallard, and she stuck it out. She stayed there until they moved to Houston, but she stayed there and she
Till her
met.
mother passed. That's why she stayed. She
Right,
stayed
that's what
there
I'm saying.
until her mother passed, when she found out how sick her mother was and what she was going through,
My point
because
was she
she didn't
stayed.
like, yeah, but I'm
She
saying
didn't
she
have nowhere else to go either. I mean, she was
right.
running from this
But
husband who was
after
beating
a
her,
while, she
and this was
did.
the
But
only
like she
place she
said,
could go back
she
home.
stayed there. But until her mother died, she stayed there. I mean, obviously, when her mother died, they sold the house and she probably got some money, and that, influenced their decision to move.
She got the
But,
money from her sister's ring. The sister gave the ring to the
oh,
boyfriend.
okay. Oh,
She
okay.
told her, yeah,
And
this
she
is
had the
for
restaurant. Remember the guy left for the restaurant when he died.
left us, so she had some
So
money.
she was good.
Yeah, but she I guess, when, like I told Tisha, when I was read the book, she left. She got up, snuck. The boyfriend saw her leave. He was sitting up, dropped off back at the train station. She gave it a ring. She did not say goodbye, just like she didn't say goodbye the first time when she disappeared, when they were staying together at the little boarding house wherever they was living at, when she ran off and married the the boss. Because when she came back home, she told her what happened, why she left. She got married, and she said, "You married him?" So she didn't give her, her sisters wondered if she dead or alive. She don't know. So I think now she ran off again. She didn't say goodbye. She only stayed for one day. She gone. And here we go again. So this time I think she a little bit like, okay, here we go. That's the life. So I guess it was her sister's way of saying, this the life I chose.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna lead. So now I think Desiree decided, you know what? It's time for me to move on too with my life. So she left Mallard because there was really nothing there for her. The mom's gone. And
Her daughter off in medical school,
right.
living
So
her life.
yeah. So now she's trying something new. But yeah, she had money, but I don't think, like you said, it had anything to do with being white. I think that can happen to anybody in any nationality, race. I don't care where you live at.
I
New
mean, I'm not
York,
saying, but
Canada.
that was her identity. That was what affected, like you said, her life. This idea of passing, that was what was affecting her life,
It
is that
affected
she
Stella's
passed.
life more than
Right,
anybody
right,
else's life.
right. It's
And
what I'm
then
saying.
her
That
lies
was her
affected her daughter's
lies.
life.
Right. Her lie was to keep up this pretense of being a white woman. And that was what her life revolved around. Like you said, ducking corners, ducking black people. Oh, I don't
Trying to
want these
keep this
other
lie
people
going.
moving
Yeah. So
in,
she
you
couldn't.
know.
So, like I said, I think she suffered more than anybody else because she really didn't have, I mean, all these years, she had to hide who she really was. She could
Mm-hmm.
never be open with anybody. She could never
Then
totally like relax and enjoy her life. I mean, remember,
it
she used to spend her days in the pool just drinking in the middle of the day because she had nothing to do. She had no friends, nowhere to go. She couldn't talk to anybody
And her
So
husband
she
didn't
led
want
a
her to work.
lonely life. She really did. Even though she had money, she was lonely.
Right. And her husband didn't want her to work. And when she decided to finally do something, go back to school or whatever and teach
Mm-hmm.
math, and her husband's like, why you got to do that? What you need to do that for?
And that
Or
seemed to be the only happiness she really had. I mean,
right.
yeah, it seemed like I think she loved her husband, but she, I
Yeah.
think, regretted that she wasn't able to truly, confide in him about everything that was going on inside of her.
Right. I think
And I think that
her
hurt her more. And
husband,
maybe that's why she did want to get out the house. It kept her mind,
And get her
off of
mind,
that.
go to
She
school
could
and
focus
do
on
something.
something else and not always dwell on
Right.
that
Right.
one thing all the
Mhm.
time.
it was odd because I always thought that in the beginning, like when they were describing the twins, it turned like Stella was going to be the quiet one, but she was intelligent. She liked school. But in the end, I felt like Stella was so disconnected. Like, yeah, her husband loved her, and I'm sure she loves her husband, but it seemed like she was so disconnected from her family, like her husband and her daughter. But her husband loved her unconditionally. He didn't know what was wrong. He didn't think anything was wrong. He just loved her.
Yeah, and that was
But she was
the
always
thing.
distant from
This
him. She was
lie
always
stood in between
always
those
detached
relationships.
from him.
She couldn't
Just
cross
like
over that, you know what I mean? That lie was so
lying
big,
to
it just overwhelmed her life.
right. She was lying to her husband, even talking about, oh no, I wasn't at Loretta's. I was doing this. And, he was like, where were you? Instead of just saying I was across the street at Loretta's, she lied to her husband
I
about where they
don't know why
were.
she lied about that. She could have just said I was over there.
I was at the
You know.
neighbor's house, right, or whatever. She could have just vaguely said I was at the neighbor's house, but she lied and
Right.
telling her husband she at Kathy's house or she at
Yeah, I don't
Elizabeth's house.
understand that part, why she would lie about
Well,
it.
Because she's so used
think
to
Other
lying.
than she
Like her
just
daughter
didn't
said,
want the other
she
people
just a
to.
liar.
I
Her
think she
daughter
didn't want
said
the
it.
other people to know because they were getting sort of upset. The rumors were going around. Remember
Yeah, that she
the
was
other
being
family and
friends with a
stuff.
black woman and yeah.
Right, the rumors was going. So she was trying to kind of, like you said, she had to keep it up, because she was so much against them moving in, and now here she is, the first one to being buddy buddy. So yeah, I think that's why she's
Because
kind
she
of.
knows she's black.
But yet
What you mean?
then
I ain't friends.
they end up, and then she end up really liking, because they
Right.
accepted her. She couldn't be that open, and I think it was another thing. She could talk freely
She
with
could,
Loretta.
she could. I think she could
Relate,
relax when she was with Loretta
yeah,
and be herself. You remember she was smoking a
because
cigarette and just sitting
yeah,
having a good
because
time.
she didn't have to
And with
worry
those other
about them
ladies, she
fine,
would be all prim and proper, and
right? Because she
they
was
said she was always
passing.
quiet. She wouldn't say too much of
Hmm.
anything. So yeah,
Right. And it was
Yeah,
she
like, oh
likes
my
that being
God.
able to,
She
be
felt
open and
Loretta was like her sister because they was like, oh my God, I saw her put her lips on the same cigarette as the black lady. Oh my God.
see,
that just sounds
yeah,
so
she
crazy.
could. That was her comfort zone. She wasn't really thinking that she could just be. For one, she could finally be herself a little bit. She didn't have to put on airs with Loretta because they were not like that. So she felt
Right.
a little bit more comfortable,
That
and
probably was a nice break from always, being on guard all the time.
yeah, I think that's, to me, that's what I think. She could relate a little bit better. And
Yeah, I
she didn't
think
have to
so.
put. Yeah.
So do you feel that her daughter, like, I noticed that the relationships that the kids had, so Jude and Reese, and then her daughter was in a series of relationships with like black guys and like, did her daughter, I didn't kind of get this at the time. Did her daughter know at the time that she was in this relationship that she was black, or did her daughter just, you know what I mean? Like,
No,
did
I
you,
think she just had boyfriends.
okay.
I don't think she
It's like, was she
knew.
trying
I mean,
to
she
prove
suspected
something?
something was going
Was her,
on, but
was her
I don't
daughter
think that was
trying to
her
prove
motivation for
something?
dating that guy. I think it was just a
Okay.
guy she met and started dating. But she
Okay.
never seemed to be a person that was, like that anyway.
Okay.
I mean, she had no problem with Jude when she, started talking to her, whatever. She didn't seem that way. So I don't think so.
Okay. Because I wasn't sure at the time because the boyfriend was astonished, like, oh, a black person? Like,
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean,
okay.
that's not the impression I got from reading the story of
Okay.
her personality, that she would be, some type of
Yeah, because
racist or decide to date this
No,
black
I'm not
person
saying she's
despite of her
racist, but
mother. Yeah, I don't think so.
No. I'm asking. At that point, did she know that her and Jude were related? Is what I'm asking. Did she know at
No,
that point?
because
No,
remember, she still was
no.
suspicious that something,
Mhm.
Okay, that's what I was
her
trying to
mom was
figure out.
lying about something, but I don't think she
She knew
knew
that they were.
because when Jude finally, said something, she was already dating this
She
guy.
was mad. Right, and she was mad that
Yeah.
she
He
was
was
mad
mad
that
telling her that she was black. What you mean I'm black? I'm
yeah, because she just got tired of her making those comments about her,
yeah,
and so she just wanted to set her straight, and she apologized later. But at the
yeah.
time, you know, I guess she got tired of her just treating her like, oh, you're nobody. But yet you are, I'm probably the only friend you have, and we're cousins.
And truly.
So she did
Ain't
know that.
nobody else trying to be your friend except for the guy that was doing drag. He she was his friend. They both was his friend.
No, the guy. Those people didn't like her. He wasn't her friend. He didn't like Kennedy. No, nobody in the play liked.
Well, not like that. I'm not saying a friend, but he tolerated her because
Right.
that's how you got to kind of know them through Kennedy because in the performance.
No,
But
Jude
yeah,
already knew them. Jude. That's the
But
only
no,
reason.
Jude met
Jude,
them through Reese, who was a
right.
friend of the
Jude
drag
already knew
queens.
who they were.
oh,
Kennedy met them at the performance, but Jude was there because of what was his name? What?
Reese.
No, not Reese. What was the
Reese.
performer's name?
Oh,
Barry.
Barry.
Jude was there because Barry got a part in the play, and that's the only reason
mm-hmm.
they went. And then it happens to be, oh, Kennedy is in this play. But yeah, no, Reese and Jude knew Barry long before then. That's how they met. So that had nothing
Oh,
to do with
okay.
Kennedy. And Kennedy said nobody. They said nobody liked her on the play.
Well, she was full of herself. She was kind of,
They said she would come. She was coming in late, and
Oh yeah.
pain.
Mm-hmm.
So
had
they didn't really,
attitude. She really did.
right, she had an attitude, or they didn't really care for her. But she was just lonely. I think attention.
I think so. I think that was the getting attention,
Mm-hmm.
saying and doing
So
something. Like I
Yeah.
said, she
Well,
used to do things to her mom, like try to irritate her mom so she'd pay attention
oh
to her.
right, yeah.
that
So she
was
did annoying things, and her mama still
yeah,
wouldn't pay no attention to her.
that
She
was
just keep
attention
doing
get.
whatever she was doing.
Oh yeah, I
Well,
forgot about that part. Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
what's the other questions, Tisha?
Oh man, there's so many. Okay. Let's see. We talked. I was when I was asking you guys these questions, I was kind of touching on all these questions. So another question is Desiree's job as a fingerprint analyst in Washington, D.C. involves using scientific methods to identify people through physical genetic details. Why do you think the author chose this as a profession for her characters? What else do you see with this theme of identity and identification in the book, which we pretty much touched on with, all the characters, especially Stella and Kennedy not really knowing or being unsure about or having her identity put into question as a white woman.
You mean Stella?
No, Kennedy, because she grew up thinking that she was white, but when Jude told her, her identity was put into question, like, oh, I'm not black. So she was like, she's questioning who she is because her mom never told her anything else.
Okay, well,
So,
technically, let's go with genetics. And unfortunately, in this day in society, your father is basically who you get your genetic makeup because the male genes determine if it's a male or a female. So her father is technically whatever nationality he is, but he's not black. I forget. What was his nationality?
he
I
was
don't know. We
white.
just know it was white. We don't know.
No, I thought he was
They never said
He
what
was
he
white.
was. He was
He
white,
was
but
just white. He wasn't no
I don't
national.
think
He
they
was just
gave him
white.
if he was
Yeah.
Italian or Irish or anything. I think he was just
well,
white.
oh,
He was
okay. 'Cause
white
I
because
thought
his mama didn't like Stella. His mama, he was saying that Stella was saying that his mom kind of knew something was off about her, but she couldn't put her finger on it. And she said, don't marry that girl. Something is wrong with her. Something's not right about her. But her mom couldn't put her finger on it.
no, I thought he said because of his family history, his father or something had to do with European or something coming
Right. He
over
was
there.
just the white guy.
He was
He
just
was
white. I
white.
think the Anglo-Saxon or something,
But I
just
mean,
one
that has
person.
nothing to do with the dad. Like genetics, fine. Obviously, Kennedy is mixed, but just remember during slavery, when you had a child, they did that on purpose. The child would be with the mother. So whatever the mother's race was, that's what the child was designated as, not the father, because most of the fathers were white slaveholders. So, and the mothers were slaves.
I can understand that. That's because they knew that.
So
And
historically,
they
it was the
not
mother's
black.
race
They,
that the child
that's,
was, not the
that's
father's.
right, because if the woman was black, they knew they were slaves, and they knew if the child was mulatto, they knew the father had to be white. So
Right,
that
that's
means
what I'm
that the
saying. So
slave
it was
owners
not,
was mixing with the slaves.
so
So
you're
that
saying
don't,
genetically the father, that has nothing to do with this. Kennedy has both genetics,
okay,
the
well,
mom.
you can't use slavery with this.
I said
because
historically, but that's still true historically, that when people look at, oh, because the mom is this, we associate the child as that too.
well,
Because
they
the
don't do that.
child
They
came
don't
from
do
the
that.
mother.
They don't do that now. That's past the 19th century. So they stopped doing that back then.
I don't
You
know.
know. But now it's that you can say that because she's not technically black. She has black blood. She's mixed, but they gonna go by what the father's identity is, and that's being.
I don't believe that. I don't,
Okay,
that
well, I'm just saying that's how it is now in the 1900s, the 20th century. Now I can see in 18 and 17 when all this happened, because that's who a lot of these women, the black women and the slaves, were mixed up, or the slave owners was messing with the slaves and stuff.
but that
So of
doesn't
course
discount
they
the
wasn't
fact
gonna
that
raise the
they're mixed.
kids. They wasn't gonna take the kids from the women when they have them. They of course the mother kept the kids. That's how
No,
it
that's
was.
not what we're saying. We're saying that if I have a black dad and a white mom, I'm both of those. So regardless of what nationality my dad or my mom is, I'm still both of those things. I'm still black and I'm still white because my parents are, one's black, one's white, one's
Mixed
Asian,
race.
one's whatever. That's what I'm saying. So you can't just say the identity of the dad because the child is both of them. So regardless of what
No, I'm
nationality.
saying because she was raised with her father and mother as passing as white, she identified, even though she had, it's just like when like you said, when they do the tree, the genetic coding, and they found out, oh, I'm 30, oh, I'm 10% Native American. I didn't know that. Or I'm 5% Irish shows up. You might not identify with it, but now you got some Irish heritage in your family tree back when, who knows how many generations ago. But most people don't go around saying, oh, then a lot of people say, oh, I'm mixed heritage, or I might be 10% Indian, or I mean,
I'm not saying, I'm saying Kennedy is both, but she identifies as white, obviously, because she grew up thinking she was 100% white, not
that's what
having
I'm saying.
black blood.
Right. She don't know
That's
how
what I
much,
said.
percentage of blood, So yeah, she grew up thinking, she privileged because that's the way she grew up.
Mhm. All right. What time is it? Let me look at the time. All right. So we have to wrap this up. So what would you give this book, Yvonne? Are we doing thumbs up
I say
or?
thumbs up. It was a good read. It really was.
I
I liked
enjoyed it too, Yvonne. Tisha didn't like it, but I
I
enjoyed
didn't
it.
say I
it.
didn't like it.
Why?
No, I didn't say I didn't like. I said I didn't like some of the characters, and I just didn't care about them toward the end. Like I didn't care about Kennedy as she grew up. I didn't care about Stella. I mean, I just didn't care about them. Like, they seemed so shallow to me and no substance. Like I found Desiree's story, and even toward the end, like Jude and Reese is like, eh. I found Desiree to be the most compelling character in the book. I liked the book. I didn't dislike it. I just found, like, I didn't like the direction that she went off with on some of the characters. Like, I don't know. I just like Jude and Reese's story. Fine.
Well, I didn't even think that was even necessary. I didn't even know what that was in there. I
So,
mean, it really didn't have that much to do with the story.
I mean,
Other
I felt,
than she
I
met,
understand why she did that because
I'm
I
just saying
understand why she put it in
she
there.
could have met Barry another kind of way to. It
I
didn't have to
understand
be
why she
through
did Jude's
Reese,
love story because of Jude's growing up and nobody ever thinking and Jude wanted that closeness and she was sneaking off with that guy who didn't want to be seen with her in public. And now she meets Reese who's saying, I love you.
Yeah, but
I
why
don't care about
Reese
your skin
though?
color.
When Reese was
like you
nonfiction.
said
I don't get
before,
it.
I mean, I get
Why?
it. I get it. But
It's like
I mean,
they
I just,
didn't
like I
have her
said,
with any other relationship other than the white boy or whoever, the light skinned guy in Mahler.
right. That's
That
what
was
I'm saying.
it.
Right.
And
So
then
I get
nobody
the,
else until this Reese person. It's like, why not somebody else though?
because Reese saw her as beautiful no matter what. And she was saying she was insecure
Which he
about
couldn't have
this.
been the only one.
Well, apparently in the book he was. So that was the point.
I'm just saying, but why that
when
particular
Reese,
character?
because Reese was the only one that looked at her when he first saw
But
her
why did Reese
and
have
thought
to
she
be?
was
I
beautiful.
don't understand why Reese's character had to be transsexual though. I really don't understand that part. Why can he
Transgender,
just been an ordinary guy?
transgender, not
What's
transsexual.
the okay? But why? That's what I'm
Have
saying. I
to
don't
be.
understand why that particular label was put on him. That's all.
I don't know. That's what
In
the
the
author
story.
decided
Because I'm
to do.
saying, because it really didn't have nothing to do with the story.
Well, I
like
mean,
she
it was
just
part of the story.
decided.
Yes, it did. I
It was
think it's
part of the
Well,
because
story.
only because of
character.
who his friends were, but his friends still could have been them same friends if he was somebody
To
else.
me, well, I guess I'm reading more into it because I think it also played on Jude's character because she was not accepted for who she was. In the same way with Reese, he didn't. People wasn't accepting him for the way he wanted to be.
People
For
do
how
Right.
not
They
accept
had a
it for who they
commonality
are.
because Reese
they
left his
had that
family and
common
Jude left her
denominator.
family.
Right, they had that common denominator that they accepted each other for
They
who
didn't
they
like where
are.
they grew up
They,
at. Right.
they accepted each other unconditionally. None of this other stuff mattered because they didn't care
Well, I can
what
see
other
that
people
part.
saw, thought, or felt. So I think that's why the character author put that in there. And like I told Tisha, I can see the sequel of them making
Boo.
another
Mm-mm.
book.
No.
What?
This is where we disagreed
I
completely.
don't know the sequel. What that would be.
That's why I said this is where we disagree because I don't think
Because what would they
there
do? I
needs to
mean,
be
their
a
mama's
sequel.
dead. They both went their separate ways. So what would
I
be
Right,
the
think
sequel?
they
right.
can
I thought she
expand
wrapped the
on
book up
life.
just fine.
Yeah,
No,
it doesn't seem like it was any loose ends left.
Right. Me, that's why
I
I
didn't
agree.
say it
Like,
had
I
to be
don't
any
think there
loose.
needs to be a
I didn't
sequel.
say it had to be
Yeah.
loose ends. I can see where they can put a runoff to
Mm-mm.
Desiree life. What happened
No,
if
she
she and
going
that
to.
guy finally got
Well, that would
married?
be 2 or 3
And,
books. You'd have to have one for her life,
Right.
one for
That's
her
why I
mom's
said no.
life.
I
One
think
and who knows? Something
because it
might
seems like their
happen
lives
where
have just split apart.
no.
yeah,
That's what I said.
Stella might
Unless
finally come to something might happen
Kennedy
with her
and
husband
the girl,
where
maybe. I
he
don't
get
know.
into some kind of crisis where she might have to go find her family or even her daughter or Jude.
I think you just want there to be another book, which I think you should write because
I
I
can
don't
see
think
her
the
making
author.
another
I
book.
don't see it. No,
I
You
I
can
just
see
neither.
don't
it.
see the sequel.
I don't see it either. I'm with
I can
you.
see it.
I
I can
don't
see
see a
it.
sequel at all.
Yeah, that would take a whole lot of imagination to figure out what that'd be about.
Hey,
Mm-mm.
she
Yep.
made imagination when she did this one, so yeah, why not?
So
That's
keep
what
it at
writers
that.
do. That's what
Keep it at,
writers do. They take the impossible and turn into a story. And
and that's
just
what
like
she did. She
people
did
like
a
this
Well,
story.
that's
one,
what she did. Yeah.
guess
She
what?
wrapped it up. She wrapped it up
There's
nicely.
a
It's
lot
the
of books
end.
out there
And
that
that's it.
people, that's the same way on TV. You think that it's the
End of the story. When they start doing Star Wars and all these other, look at Roland.
she came up with one book and now she done made millions
No,
because
no. I think it was a good book to
Well, that's
read.
a different kind of series, but I don't agree.
I'm just saying,
There should be a
people
sequel.
come up with stories in their head. They think about it and they say, hey, maybe I can do a spinoff from this, or maybe I can write something else. Maybe I can
All
take
right.
this in another direction. Who knows?
Well,
Well, what do
we'll
you give the
see.
book? So we have 3 thumbs up for the book, 3 thumbs up
Yes.
for The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett. It is available at the Broadview Public Library District. We have the book in large print, we have the book in regular print, and it is available on media on demand in both audio and as an ebook. If anybody would like to read this book, check this book out with your Broadview Public Library card, by all means, we can help you get set up on media on demand on your tablet or smartphone. Just give us a call here at the Broadview Public Library, 708-345-1325, and we will be more than happy to check this book out to you, place it on hold for you if you are interested in The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett. Next month's book banter is going to be called Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed on December the 17th. And we thank you very much for joining us for November's book banter of The Vanishing Half. Thank you to Miss Yvonne and thank you to Miss Lynetta for joining us for book banter. And we will see you all next month.